tips for developers and progression in your career, and just things to always keep in mind. Things that I've been told over the years or I've learned from other developers. No developer knows everything, and that's okay. You don't need to know everything. No one expects you to know everything, and that is, don't stress yourself out because you don't know something. Everybody learns stuff, and no one ever learns everything. The whole point of being a developer is to be a problem solver. So if you knew everything, your job would become pretty boring. So not knowing everything is better. It makes it more enjoyable. You get new challenges, new problems to solve each day. So don't over stress yourself out thinking, oh, I don't know this, I don't know this. You don't need to. The whole point of working as a developer is to learn as you do. It's okay to use Stack Overflow. It is perfectly fine. For those that aren't familiar with Stack Overflow, you will definitely become very familiar with Stack Overflow as you get into the industry. Stack Overflow is basically like an online resource of every problem anyone's ever had, ever. And people comment with answers, and there's most of the solutions to life. So it is okay. It's generally like, most people are like, oh, use Stack Overflow, cheater, whatever. It is okay to use it, but only under certain circumstances where you actually understand the answer that you are using. It's important that to not get into a bad habit of finding an answer online and just copying and pasting the solution into your code and just leaving it at that. Make the solid effort to understand what that solution does. Why does that work? So then next time you won't need Stack Overflow again. You'll learn from that. Use it as an aid rather than the answer to life. So it is okay to use and get help. Use support that is available to you. If you work within a team of developers, use the knowledge that other developers have. There'll be developers that you work with at all different levels, especially really useful if you are just coming in at a junior level. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Asking for help is, a lot of the time, people get paranoid and scared to actually ask for help, especially as a developer, because you think, oh, it's a sign of weakness that I'm stupid, I don't know as much. That's not the case. As a manager, asking for help is a sign of growth and ambition, that you want to become better. It's perfectly fine to ask for help if you need support. It's better to ask for help than spend 2 days trying to find the answer through Google, where someone who sits next to you might have had that problem a few weeks ago and already know the answer or be able to talk it through. So it is always use what is available to you and don't be afraid to ask for help. Approach the hardest thing first. A lot of the time when you're working on big scale projects, there's tons of things to do. The best thing to do is to actually do the hardest thing first, because it will take the most time, it will create the most challenges. It might seem more rewarding to do the easier things because you might get a lot of things done quicker and it feels better, but then at the end you've still got the most complex thing to solve. Whereas if you get that out the way at the start, then you've got then tidy up nicer tasks to do. It is deal with the hardest thing. And then also when you are starting a new project or you do have a very difficult task, one mistake a lot of developers do, including myself, I've done it for years, is, oh, here's a task, quick, hit the keyboard, start typing, let's try fix this, let's try solve this, and just start typing till it works. One of the best things you can do, especially if it is a complex thing that you need to solve, is literally just take a step back, think about it. I write loads of little scribbles on pieces of paper, like logical if statements and ways to go around it, and just take a think before you start typing the solution. You'll find that the actual end solution that you have coded is of much higher quality because it's not full of all the previous attempts, or it's not all hacked together till, oh yeah, now it works, but if I approach it this way, it doesn't work. It makes you think about the bigger picture. So taking a step back, as much time as needed for that, because then when it comes to writing the code, you'll be more ready, more prepared, and you'll write better code. Another one is create your own pet projects. So this is basically, whilst you're not doing client work or whatever you're doing as a job, just create your own little ideas to build, to learn. When you've got your own idea and you're building something for yourself, it's more enjoyable. So you find that you'll actually learn things a lot faster. Another good way for this is if you've built one thing before, say you've built, I don't know, a user management system or something like that. Take a project scenario that you've built before and use that same scenario to then build it in a completely different coding language. By building the same thing, when you've already done it once in one language, seeing how it was done in that language, then do it in another coding language makes it a lot easier to see the similarities, pick up the syntax, the logic, because underneath basically all programming languages follow the same foundations. They're all based on design patterns. They're all basically object orientated. It does mostly come down to syntax. So it is learning the difference. Obviously there's different toolings and whatnot, but having the same thing that you've already done can make it a lot easier to learn new languages when you do come to that. I primarily do PHP, but I've done most of the languages that do exist over the years. But yeah, it is a good way to do. That's what I generally will do when I need to learn a new language. I'll build the same thing when jumping between. And then final one is never stop learning. As you work as a developer, you'll find that you're always learning new things on the job, and that is what actually makes it an enjoyable job to do. You do constantly learn. And basically, when I first started, my first mentor always used to say to me, if you don't look back at work that you've done 6 months ago and think that was crap, then you're not progressing. Always look back. If you think, oh, that's still fine, then challenge yourself more. You should always, everybody can always improve, and that's one of the good and mental side of being a developer. The industry, the tooling, everything is always advancing. It's always changing. So you do always need to be constantly putting that effort in to stay on top, stay on the ball, learn new things. It is just part of being a developer. And hopefully by wanting to go into this industry, wanting to be a developer, you've got that kind of mentality already. You like being challenged, you like to learn new things, you like to solve things. So that'll generally, for like a good developer, that just kind of staying up to date, learning new things just kind of comes natural to everyone. So that's my kind of life as a developer, tips, agency, how I got into it, what we do as a company, and some tips on how to become a good developer and get into the industry.